My boyfriend comes home injured every day, and he won't tell me why. I 26F live with my BF23M, and he's the Lommel. He's always been honest with me about everything, but recently I feel like he's hiding bad something from me. Because for 2 months, every time he returns home after work, he's bruised and injured. Not like a small injury, but really visible injuries like bruises, cuts on his abdomen, legs, bad injuries. The worst injury he had was approximately 13 days ago. He came home at midnight and I was still awake doing some work, and his whole hair and face was messed up. He has a middle part, and it was like some of it was cut off, and he had bad swelling in his cheekbone area. He also had a black eye. When I saw him, I was trying to ask him what the F happened to him, and he just told me he didn't want to talk about it. I've tried to do anything to just get some information from him, but he refuses to give me any. He keeps telling me not to worry about it. I've told him I'd also go to the police to report what's happening to him, but he's pleaded me every time to not, or else he'd break up with me. I'm so worried for him, and I feel like I can't do anything. He hasn't done anything to deserve any of this, and I've been trying to come up with anything, but I can't. He truly is a person who lives a simple life. The only reason I've come up with is that my BF is one of the few minorities in a very conservative city. But even then he has friends, connection, etc. Update. I asked my boyfriend yesterday about what was really going on, and I threatened to rope in my family, the police, and break up with him. I told him he was jeopardizing my own safety, and he had to tell me. After a lot of stalling, he eventually told me what it was. He's in a fight club. I guess the jokes were right. He's actually in a fight club like the movie. However, it's more complicated than just he's bored. He told me his family in Vietnam, specifically his mom, are pressuring him a lot to give them more and more money. They have told him that if he doesn't give them enough, they'll cut contact with him. And even though we both have pretty good jobs, he was struggling to reach their demands, and he didn't eat to ask me for money. He heard about the fight club from his friends, and at first he thought it wasn't any good. But he told me he was getting really stressed from his family situation, and getting hit would relieve some of it. And once he heard money was on the line, he decided to join it. That's the reason he refused to say anything about it, because like the movie, he followed the first rule of Fight Club. That's also why he comes home sad. He's only using the Fight Club as a way to cope and earn some money on the side. That's also somewhat the reason he would plead me to not contact the police whenever I told him I would. Even though the actual Fight Club itself isn't illegal, a lot of illegal activities like drugs were being done in it of itself. I've talked to him about helping him with some money or therapy, but he told me he wants to deal with his issues himself. He told me he doesn't want me to stress myself out just to help him. For now, I'll stay off, but I told him I'll be helping myself by helping him if he's in a bad situation. Next story. Am I the butthole to ask my husband to block his female friend who warned him not to marry me? I 26F want my husband 27M to immediately block one of his friends, Kyla 27F. He thinks I am overreacting and wants opinions from some cool-headed people on if I am just acting crazy, or this is something that would cross the line for you. My husband has a group of 8 friends he is close with since his college days. Kyla is one of his friends. When my husband and I started dating, he introduced me to all of them, and everyone was very friendly. I used to hang out with them frequently. I am an introvert, and so is my husband. I would always ask him to spend time alone, as being in social settings just saps all my energy away. His friends, and especially Kyla, always made it a point to tell me how he hangs out with them less after he started dating me. Kyla also had a weird energy around me. If I was with my husband, she would be the most friendliest with me. However, as soon as he walked away, she acted like I did not exist. My husband hates to be touched by others, we both are ND, but Kyla would always tease him by trying to hug him, mess his hair, etc. I never felt she was flirting with him, but just teasing him to make him annoyed. Overall, she just feels like a person who has a severe social boundary issue. We got married 2 years ago, and things have been great between us. Last week, we had our second marriage anniversary and invited a bunch of people. His friends stayed back after all the guests left, and we were all drinking and chatting. One of his friends, Jen, became a bit tipsy and started complimenting me on how beautiful our house is, how I care for my husband, and how he has changed for the better since marriage. Everyone was laughing at my husband at how much of a slob he was when he was single. Jen then pointed at Kyla and said, "You better pay up, 'cause you had bet that their marriage would not even last for 2 years." Everyone became silent and started changing the topic. I also did not want to spoil the mood and let it go, but it stuck in my head. After everyone left, I asked my husband what Jen was talking about. He also had noticed Jen saying that and was ready with a full explanation. He told me the story of what happened when we got engaged. When he proposed to me, he had not told his friends that he was going to do that. We went on a trip to Puerto Rico, and he surprised me there. We put our engagement pictures on Instagram while we were on the trip, and it was a big surprise to everyone as we were only dating for 1 year. When he came back and met all his friends, everyone congratulated him. However, Kyla started ranting about how he was a fool to propose so quickly, and she felt that I was not the right girl for him. Seems like she said some unkind things about me, implying I was a gold digger. My husband's family is wealthy, but so is mine. She had said that she bet we would break up within 2 years if we got married. That is why Jen was taunting her about how happy my husband was with me. I was very furious at this point, as I feel this is something he should have told me. I asked him to tell me truthfully if he had ever dated Kyla or had any history with her, as he has always told me that he has never dated anyone from his friend group. He said that he has of course not dated or hooked up with Kyla. However, Kyla had asked him out a few times when they were in college, and he always politely declined. I asked why he said no to her, and he said he just does not have any romantic feelings for her. I can see that because my husband does have a type based on me or the other people he has dated in the past, and Kyla is the opposite of that. I am just mad at her for saying bad things about me, especially after knowing that we were already engaged and betting against my marriage. I told my husband that he needs to minimize contact with Kyla and she is not invited to parties at our house anymore. He feels I am being too harsh for something she said almost 3 years ago. He also pointed out that she has been very supportive to both of us and also helped a lot during our wedding arrangements. He feels she is just blunt and forthright when she speaks, but does not mean those things. He told me to take some time and calm down, and we would revisit this topic in a week. He is worried this will completely change the dynamics within his friend group. Am I the butthole for wanting him to block her and stop inviting her to our house? Do you think I am overreacting? I think betting against our marriage and bad-mouthing me behind my back seems like a huge betrayal. I am also mad at my husband that he kept this fact from me, and also never told me that Kyla asked him out during college days. Am I just being crazy and reactive? How would you react in this situation? I don't want to distance my husband from his friends, but I also do not want to see Kyla's face again. Update. I had posted almost 6 months ago regarding my husband's friend Kyla betting that our marriage would not last for more than 2 years. I was upset and had asked my husband to stop talking to her because she disrespected our marriage. Since then, Kyla has pulled some really pathetic crap to stir up issues between my husband and I. After I wrote the post, my husband was trying to convince me that Kyla's was just joking when she made those comments, and it happened so long ago. Kyla messaged me the next day apologizing me for her comments and also not making more efforts to connect with me. I accepted her apology and started warming up to her. She started inviting me for brunches and girls' night out with them, and I felt included in their friend group. One day during brunch, I brought up why Kyla really thought our marriage would not work out. Kyla told me that my husband broke up with his long-term ex-girlfriend Joanna 2 months before he started dating me. I knew that part, But Kyla told me that my husband was really heartbroken after the breakup and swore to her that he would stay away from dating anyone. When he met me, my mom set us up on a blind date. She was surprised how quickly we hit it off. Kyla thought that I was his rebound relationship, but when he proposed to me within a year, she was worried that he was making a very rash decision. My husband's family is rich, and she thought it was unwise for him to marry so quickly without knowing me well. She did not know enough about me and that my family is also very well off. That is why she was concerned that I was taking advantage of his vulnerable state. She apologized to me and said that it was wrong for her to assume that, and over the years, she has seen how happy we are together. I appreciated her honesty and Kyla, and I became good friends since then and started hanging out more frequently. Around 2 months ago, my husband went for a conference to Seattle for 3 nights. After he came back, I got a "Hey girly" message on Instagram from Joanna, his ex. She told me that my husband contacted her a few months ago and they met in Seattle during the conference, and she could give me more proof if I wanted. I went through my husband's Instagram, but he seems to have blocked her. I made a mistake of mentioning it to Kyla, as she was the only person honest to me about Joanna, and she went in detective mode to help me. She was still friends with Joanna on Instagram, as they all went to college together, and opened her profile. The message sent to me was from a different profile, with no followers. We checked her photos, and we saw that she attended the same conference as my husband did in Seattle. Kyla suggested I should ask Joanna for more proof and also ask my husband about the same before assuming the worst. I asked my husband if he met Joanna, and he said yes. He told me he just met her in the expo hall and chatted with her for a few minutes. I asked him why he did not mention it to me, and he told me it was just a quick conversation, and he did not think too much of it. He asked me how I knew it, and I told him that Kyla mentioned that she saw her pictures at the conference, and I thought he might have seen her. I messaged Joanna again to share more proof. She told me that they have been chatting for the past 2 months and planned to attend the conference together. She shared a log of their messages, where my husband was actively flirting with her. The screenshots did look legit, but I did not see any of those messages in my husband's Instagram profile. I talked to Kyla about it, as I did not know what to believe. I messaged Joanna to tell us what happened between them, and she told me that he invited her to the room at nights and they hooked up, but she does not have any photos as he insisted. They do not take any pictures together. I immediately realized it was fake and messaged Joanna to F off. She kept on insisting they were telling the truth, and she spent the nights with my husband in his room on all 3 nights. I told her that my husband and I were playing video game Sea of Thieves for almost 2-3 hours each night after his dinner, as that is what we do to catch up when he is away. Unless Joanna was sitting behind him watching us play until he fell asleep, she was full of crap. I also told my husband about the whole incident, and he told me I should have come to him sooner. He told me that he has gone no contact with Joanna ever since they broke up, and he just ran into her at the conference. He told me I could check his phone and everything to verify that he has blocked her everywhere. I told him I do not need to, and Joanna might have run into him and just decided to F his life by making up stuff. When all the friends met that weekend, my husband and I told everyone about how Joanna sent messages to me and faked everything. Kyla was also telling what happened as she had told her about it. Kyla accidentally let it slip out that it's luckily we are nerds and played video games at nights before sleeping. Else, props go to Joanna for making up a convincing story. I never told Kyla about the video game stuff. I just told her Joanna is full of crap, and I blocked her. It took me until I came home to connect the dots. I told my husband about it, and he confronted Kyla. She denied it and told him that I told her about the video game stuff on a phone call, but I don't remember doing it. We have since decided to keep our distance from Kyla. Kyla has called me multiple times to meet up, but I just make up reasons that I am busy. I do not know why she did it, but at this point, I am not interested in it, and we have decided to just see her on social occasions and avoid hanging out with her as much as possible. I feel stupid that she played me for a fool, and I should have not gone to her when Joanna started messaging me. In hindsight, it seems suspicious that Kyla started telling me about Joanna, and at the same time, Joanna claimed to have an affair with my husband. I do not know what her intentions are, but I am mad enough that I will avoid her as much as possible. I wish I had some real proof that she was the one messaging me, so that I could expose her. I also feel bad for suspecting my husband, but I am glad my husband and I are on the same page now. Next story. Am I the butthole for what I-26F said to my BF-28M in front of his friends? A little background. We've been going out since high school and have a very joke-y relationship. Poking fun for the most part isn't out of the question. Though if one of us says we aren't comfortable with one of the jokes, the other makes an effort not to make it again, for the most part more context coming. I have been a bit of an obsessive fan of music artists since I was 14. I have more than one tattoo inspired by this artist and her aesthetic. I have seen her in concert multiple times. I own more merch than I can say, and have run several different fan accounts devoted to her during this time. I understand this is weird. I try not to bring it up in everyday conversation because I am aware it is weird. Most people who know me in passing do not know this about me, and only my best friend and my boyfriend know about my fan accounts. I am not the person who talks about this artist constantly. I am not the person who is annoying in large groups about it anymore. There was a learning curve when I was in high school, but losing friends is a great motivator to fix yourself. My boyfriend has on and off made jokes about this since we got together. Admittedly, whenever I bring up that it makes me feel insecure and unsafe expressing myself around him, he stops for a while. But he always starts up again, and it just bothers me. I can't fully explain it, but it makes me feel like the things I like are somehow inherently bad, and that he wants me to stop having this interest because he doesn't see value in it. Now, he's never said that, and I don't genuinely believe that, but that's how he makes me feel. An example, I had been cleaning dishes and listening to her music when he came into the kitchen and started singing along in the most high-pitched, off-key falsetto voice I had ever heard, before busting up and turning it off and saying something like, "I don't see how you listen to this crap." This was one of the times I told him that he had hurt my feelings. He apologized, explained that he had only meant it as a lighthearted joke, and that he didn't care what kind of music I listened to. I don't really get mad over this, it more just hurts my feelings. Context out of the way, we were out at dinner with his friends and their girlfriends, and I had left to go to the bathroom and came back to him showing them a video on his phone, and the audio was familiar right away. It was a performance from over a decade ago that was panned pretty universally. They were all laughing and he was making a lot of jokes, until he noticed I had gone quiet and said to lighten up. I tried to smile, but he wouldn't drop it, and I said, "I don't like your music either, but I would never make fun of you for it, you know that." It was a quiet meal and ride home, and he is now barely talking to me. Two of the girlfriends there said I made everything awkward, and that I was being unfair because we always made jokes with each other. Ada? OP adds context about the artist and her boyfriend. Comment 1. When I was in high school, it was bad. Stan territory? I've cooled off a lot as I've gotten older, partially with maturity, and partially because I realized not all thoughts have to be outside thoughts. Lol. I do listen to her music a lot, more often than not with headphones because I don't like to disturb him, but whenever I'm cleaning or cooking, mostly her playlist is on the speaker. He uses it for his own music when it's his turn. Managing the accounts. Not much. Most of mine got deleted over the years, and the two I still manage don't post very often, unless she's in the news, which isn't super often usually. But, again, to be fair, the last couple months she has been really active, so there has been a bit more time put in. I don't force him to go to concerts or anything. If he doesn't want to go, he doesn't. One ticket is cheaper than two anyway. He's gone a couple of times and admits that her visuals and such are stunning even if the music isn't to his taste. He did get sick of me during her last album drop, over a year ago now, and to be honest, fair, I bought him a couple things related to his interests he had been drooling over and took him out to dinner as an apology because I knew I got annoying around that time. I was just too damn excited to stop. Like I would try, but sometimes it was like that scene in Mean Girls. Word vomit. I'm normally nowhere near that bad. I make a conscious effort not to be annoying, lol. Comment 2. Before I start, I really don't want to name the artist, because she's slightly controversial, and that isn't what the post is about, lol. But when it comes to his interests, he's a big gamer and loves YouTube. We're also both massive children who love adult animation. He got me really into Meatcanyon, and we listened to every new Creepcast episode together. I'm sorry, I know I'm giving specifics mostly because I realize that saying related to his interests makes me sound like I don't know him at all. I just didn't think the specifics were important right now. His music taste is pretty diametrically opposed to mine. It's not bad by any means, and I have added a couple of my favorites to my Spotify over time, but it mostly makes me stressed out, whereas he says it calms him down. I don't mind him playing it. I would feel hypocritical if I did. I've only ever gone to one concert with him, but mostly because he doesn't go often. He's more of a house party than a concert guy, because he can be the playlist dictator, lol. I don't want Toynten to dump him over this. This is the only problem we have in our relationship, period. He doesn't do it often, and is really nice about it whenever we talk. I know I probably should have waited until we were alone, but I couldn't play it off well. I do agree that there's a chance he's bringing it up again because of her being more active in the circuits right now, making me a bit more engaged. I don't think he's the devil for it if that's the case, but I wish he would say something to me instead of about me. Because I can use the same tactics I use for people I'm less close with, if that's what he needs to feel more comfortable, and keep it to myself. But whenever we've talked about it in the past, he's told me that he wants me to feel okay talking to him about it. I think when we talk I'll bring that up, because again, it's not like I'm mad or anything. If he doesn't want me to talk about it, all he had to do was ask, and it's done. I'm not unreasonable. OP when asked if it's Taylor Swift. It isn't Taylor Swift. It is a different, also controversial artist, and I don't want the comments to turn into whether or not I'm in butthole for listening to this artist. Update. So, a lot of people private messaged me and helped me work through everything regarding my now ex, including being a shoulder to cry on when I realized it wasn't going to work out, and I guess I felt I owed them an update if they were interested. Not to mention the great advice I received in the comments on the original. I am deeply thankful to so many of them. A few in particular who disagreed with my take also helped me see where he may have been coming from and helped me to figure out how I was going to talk to him about everything. So I did apologize for bringing it up publicly. I know that many people disagreed with me that I should, but personally, I've always been the type to want to handle any grievances I may have with a loved one privately, rather than publicly. And I didn't like that fact that I allowed myself to break that rule, around his friends no less. He thanked me for that, but really didn't want to dig into why he felt the need to make a joke out of it. I asked if it was because I had been bringing her music up more than usual, due to her being active in the media currently, but he denied this. Still, I continued to press, explaining that we needed to move past this one way or another, because if he continued to mock ridicule my interests, it was going to make me slowly resent him. Something I really didn't want, but couldn't deny would happen if he continued to act like a bully. Eventually, after a lot of pressure, he explained that this had all started because he had complained to his friends privately about me last year, during the lead up to her album release, and they didn't like the fact that I was a fan of this artist and made some political assumptions about her based on her lyrical content from over 10 years ago, teasing boyfriend for having a wannabe trad wife girlfriend and other things that he was resentful of, including but not limited to asking if I had daddy issues or if I had a history of sleeping with older men. I am heavily sanitizing the language used because some of what was said was disgusting, honestly. Basically, it boiled down to him trying to shame me into not liking the artist anymore so he wouldn't have to deal with his friends anymore, rather than just shutting them down. I couldn't be in a relationship like that, I just couldn't. The fact that every time I had felt awful about myself and my interests for the past year, and just thought I was being oversensitive to a joke, it was actually the point to make me feel bad. It destroyed any hope I had for the relationship. I won't lie, I've been pretty heartbroken. The breakup was shortly after the first post, and I've just gotten around to updating. So yeah, no big blowout with dramatics, no secret affair, or anything. Just a man trying to make me feel small because he didn't know how to tell his friends to piss off. Boring, but depressing AF. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.